Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Zero Excuses podcast. My name is Kenyon Zitzka. Appreciate you taking time out of your schedules to join us here today. This is one of my short shows where I share some of my thoughts that I've been having throughout the past week or so. Maybe talk about an issue that I've been seeing in the community at large. Talk about eliminating excuses, building discipline, and give you a very practical and tactical tip or trick for you to implement immediately after you're done listening to this episode. But I wanted to start off this episode by asking you guys a question. Are you a habitual box checker? Let me explain what I mean by habitual box checker. You're a habitual box checker if you're someone who does the bare minimum. You're someone who just goes through the motions of a task to say that you completed it. You also might be one of these habitual box checkers if you go to your job and you just go there to kill time. You often hear yourself saying, man, just one more day closer to retirement. You're the type of person that is just kind of killing time, going through the motions and checking the box. Yep, did my 8 hours. Yep, did my 40 hours. I'm surprised at how prevalent this is in society these days, and quite honestly, it pisses me off to see people that act this way. I would expect this out of a child. I would expect this out of my daughter, because she just simply doesn't have the experience. She hasn't had the guidance, hasn't had the opportunity to listen to what me and my wife have to impart on her. But anyways, I wanted to give you guys, if this is you, I wanted to give you guys a rough framework for you guys to bust out of this. And just because I'm sitting here talking about it doesn't mean that I never have fallen into this trap, because I often have in the past. And, I'm really, really careful about it. But, now that I have a different perspective, like I said, I am very surprised at how prevalent this attitude is in society. And that's why I felt compelled to talk about it here today, is because I think we need to change that, and I think we could become more productive members of society, no matter what we choose to do, if we can get out of this habit of checking the box. So here's the framework. Number one, you have to understand that everything must benefit you in some way. It must move you towards your vision. So you need to stop and think about, even if it's the most mundane or arduous task that you have to accomplish for the day, you need to step back and think about, how can this benefit me? How will this move me towards my ultimate vision? Because 9 times out of 10, there is something that you can extract that is going to be beneficial. So just ask yourself the question, how can this move me towards my vision? So number 2 is to ask yourself the question, what is the result that I want to get out of doing this task and doing it well? What is the perfect result? I should qualify that. So what I mean by this is, if I were to complete this task to its perfection, what is the perfect result that will come out of doing this task? And somewhat related to this question is remembering the fact that the difference between doing a task to its bare minimum versus doing a task to its perfection is actually not that much different. It doesn't take much effort, and I would actually argue that it takes no additional effort to do a task perfectly. And even in some instances, it may take more effort to do a shitty job on a task than it would be to do it perfectly, because you're probably going to end up having to do it over anyways. So if you're going to do something, do it perfect. And the third key to getting out of the habit of being a box checker is to take a step back and look at who you hang around with. And if you are one of these types of people, you're probably hanging out with other habitual box checkers. So I would say to that is to take a step back and really think about who you are spending time with, and find people who don't go through the motions. Find people who do jobs well. Find people who strive for excellence. And there's tons and tons of places where you can find these people, both online and in person. You can join masterminds that meet face to face, join masterminds that meet virtually. There's Facebook groups. I've got Mastermind and Facebook group. You guys have heard me talk about those before. But, just surround yourself with people who exude excellence. I never get sick of, quoting Jim Rohn on this, but you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So think about those 3 things that I mentioned. And just to recap, number 1, link every single task that you do to your vision. And one thing I didn't mention earlier in the show is to also ask yourself, if you can't link this task to your vision, should you even be doing it? So secondly is to, number 2, ask yourself, what is the perfect result that could come out of this task? What does perfection look like? And number 3, stop hanging out with other habitual box checkers. All right, guys, that'll wrap up today's episode. Before I sign off here, just have some quick reminders for you guys. If you haven't already done so, would appreciate it if you went over to iTunes and left us a rating and review. And also, while you're there, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And if you know a friend or family member who needs to hear the message and the strategies and the tools and the tips and the systems that we talk about here on the show, would greatly appreciate it if you shared it with them. Secondly, if you haven't already done so, I mentioned it earlier, if you haven't already joined our closed Facebook group, you can do so over at kennyandziska.com/group. And if you want to take these tools and these strategies even deeper than we go here on the show and in the Facebook group, we have a couple opportunities for you to do that. You can apply to be a part of our Infinite Results Mastermind group. You can apply at kennyandziska.com/results, and you can also apply to be a part of my one-on-one discipline coaching program, where we go extremely deep, we dig deep, we lay a solid foundation for you to have the discipline and the mindset and the tools and the systems for you to get the results that you want in your life. You can apply to be a part of that program at kennyandziska.com/discipline. All right, guys, thanks again for tuning in. Have a kick-ass weekend, and we will talk again soon.